Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I probably have one of the most consistent armies in Legend League to show you. On all of my accounts so far, I've been going plus 280 over the past week that I've been using this army. And on this account, I'm going to be resetting in the top 1k today. On my other account, I'm going to be resetting within the top 2k. So, against the top players in the world, this army is doing very well. And today, I went plus 299, so close to being a plus 320 day. I just had a really dumb mistake and I actually did fail, and then I also had a time fail, so really close to being a plus 320 day. On defense today, that one star is carrying me all the way into the top 1k, so I'm really thankful for that guy. Now, this army is going to be my own furnace army. I've adjusted this based on all the different videos I've seen and strategies that people have been using, and I've tweaked it throughout the season. So this is the number one strategy that I've found throughout all my time testing the season. So I'm gonna get right into the attacks, and then I'll show you guys how to use this army. All right, so on this base, it's a double poison base. Definitely, probably the best type of base to run in Legend League on defense, but that also means it's gonna be really hard to attack. So on this one, I do try and deploy my Warden on this bottom side, and that's just because I see Clan Castle goes down if I hit the Fireball onto this Multi-Inferno, so that's great value. Multi-Infernos are going to be the biggest weakness towards your Furnaces, so if you can get as many of them down as possible in your Fireball, that's definitely going to be the best. However, the area where I placed my Warden down definitely wasn't the best, and I thought that the Fireball was going to get here onto these two defenses, but I really should have realized that it's not going to. So that just shows that a an attack with such bad Fireball value is still going to 3-star as long as there's some kind of funnel being set. Alright, so on this one, I do deploy some Furnaces in the corner. However, you're not always going to want to do that. You only want to deploy Furnaces in the corner when it's going to help funnel your King and Queen into the base, or if it's just going to help speed up your Warden. Now here, I do deploy a Furnace after I send him in, and that's just so he speeds up and then starts pushing through the top side of this base very quickly. Now over here, I'm going to use the Log Launcher. The Log Launcher is going to probably be the most used siege machine in your army, and that's just because it helps funnel your King and Queen so much better than the Siege Barracks. You're also going to use your wall breakers just to help make sure your King and Queen get in towards the base. Now here, that King value isn't too great, so it definitely could have been much better if you gotten towards the middle of the base. And another thing to note is don't activate your King and Queen ability at the same time, because that's just going to mean they're going to get value taken away from each other. So always make sure to try and offset. Usually you're going to want to use your Queen ability when you're entering the base or after your King ability has been deployed. So in this army, you do have two Rages, so don't be too cautious with them. Definitely make sure to use them when you're entering a high damage area. So before you could see that I had the Town Hall up here. So that's going to be both a high damage and high HP building. So definitely think about using the Rage spell on that building. And now this base, it got really crushed. There was definitely a lot of parts to focus on. So in the next one, I'll focus on some other things. But that's just basically the entire premise of the attack in this one and the main idea on how to execute it. But I'll go into the main idea of how to do the Warden Walk in the next attack. Alright, so this is another double poison base, and still very common. Now the first thing I see is that the Giant Bomb is over here, and since both of these compartments on the left and right side are basically equal value, you're going to want to try and fireball the one with the Giant Bomb and enter in on the other side of the base just so you can avoid your Giant Bomb hitting your King or Queen while they funnel into the base. I also see that this multi-geared tower is exposed, so I'm going to take that out with some rocket balloons, and that's just going to help save the Warden, because the multi-geared tower is the only one that can take out the Warden um, without any other defenses around it. So, I mean, definitely watch out for that. On this one, I just go for a very simple fireball, nothing too deep. I'm able to get down the scatter shot and multi or monolith with my earthquakes. I think I could have placed it a little better and a little faster, and I would have gotten the scatter shot, but everything else is just gone. Now the recall, you're gonna want to use that on your warden like every single time, unless you do something else or make a mistake with your warden. The recall is gonna be used on him. Now I redeploy him up here just so he enters in and can take out this RC right away, and then enters in towards this multi inferno just so I can get extra value with my furnaces on that right side and left side. Now I do use a rage as I enter in this space, and that's just so my warden can keep doing high damage, but also make sure to get your healers inside the rage. I mean, I used to make that mistake of not getting my healers inside, and that ended up leading to my warden dying a lot of the times, or just not even like being in the rage the entire time because you just die. So definitely make sure you do that. Now, use your furnaces behind your warden and also on the side of the base. So sometimes over here, I placed one on the corner, and that's just so I can get some cleanup. And I don't really have to worry about time, but time is a bit of a concern in almost every attack. I use another rage over here on the warden, and that's just so I can get through this final defensive area. And then also, I was a little scared for that king. I mean, the king is very scary. He does around a third of the warden's health in one shot. So if you have any headhunters, deploy them onto the king. Make sure to use the rage so the king gets taken down even quicker, and then also your healers can heal up your warden, and he doesn't really go down as quickly when fighting the king. But I mean, great attack again, and I'll show you some other aspects of this attack in the next one. All right, so this is a rage base. I mean, this is really obvious. You know, first look for that Giga Bomb. It's in this rage compartment, so you're just gonna want to fireball that right away. And this one even has a double multi inferno, which is the biggest threat towards your furnaces, and also a double scatter shot, which is probably going to be the biggest threat towards your warden, other than the multi gear tower. So insane fireball value on that one. So not even a question if you're going to be going there. Now I do deploy some furnaces in the corner, and that's just so I can um, get some funneling value because I do know, my warden, he's going to be, I don't want him to get stuck on these outside defenses or garbage buildings for too long, and I can get that fireball done right away. And I also deploy one on this corner just so I can get some funneling value. I add another one up here, but those Teslas kind of negate the value, so didn't really get too great value. Now here, 3 invisibility spells. I mean, that should be your target. It's okay to use 4, but that does get a little too complex and can also lead to, you know, time becoming a factor in when they're deployed. So it definitely gets a little more stressful when you use 4, but 3 should be the target. And then 2 is always a little like unsafe, I would say. So go for the 3 invisibility spells. Now here you can see I deploy Queen that helps to funnel in the king, deploy the log launcher. I usually deploy it in between where I place the king and the queen. And that's just to make sure that nothing else targets it, and it can make sure I can get the value that it needs. Now, log launcher does get targeted, but he does break through all of those walls, which is pretty good. Um, king, I mean, that kind of sucks. If my log launcher got, I think, two more of the logs pushed out, it would have broken through, and the king would have gone to the town hall. But it's okay. I do use queen ability here, and that's just so I can get um the minion prince down, because the minion prince is probably the biggest threat to your heroes and your hero dive in general, especially to the warden too. I mean, he is just insanely strong and a really scary hero. Now here, my king ability gets great value. You want to use your king ability once he gets near a bunch of high damage defenses, or if he's starting to leave the base. So if let's say when my king was leaving the base earlier, and I really saw that, you know, he was going to end up walking around the entire base, I probably would have deployed his ability there just so it chained to all the high damage buildings in the middle of the base instead of going to garbage buildings on the outside and not getting good value. Because if you don't do a lot of damage with that spiky ball, it's going to probably lead to a time fail, even if you're able to keep your warden alive through all those areas. So definitely watch out for that. So on to the next attack now. Alright, so as soon as I get into this base, I see amazing value on this Multi-Inferno tower. That's because I can get out the Multi-Inferno, Giant Cannon, Clan Castle, and Monolith all with a Fireball. So, I mean, insane value. I also see that placing my Warden on this right side is going to set it up for a really easy funnel in towards the base. And I just have to use one rage spell, and I get down this multi-archer tower, the RC, this poison tower, and the fire spitter. So amazing value with Warden on this right side. Now I do invest one more furnace than I normally do, and that's just so I can get rid of all these garbage buildings and make sure my Warden moves in a little bit quicker. And that's just because I see, this poison tower, my Warden's going to enter here, so he's going to slow down a lot. And if I use my rage, I don't want to be spending like extra invisibility spells, because that's going to, it's best to save the extra invisibility spells for the back end rather than using them on the entry of your Warden. So try not to waste too many spells on your Warden's entry. Also, another tip is don't use the ice block until most of your rage spell has been used up, and that's just so you don't waste any of your spells. Now here, I do get a little unlucky, and it goes towards that giant bomb, so I didn't get the value that I wanted, but I still got insane value. Alright, so now planning the recall. So when you see your Warden start entering towards, further in towards the base than you need, or once he's set a pretty good funnel for himself. So here I see that scatter shot, he's going to target that. So I'm going to get that out right away, just so when I enter in towards this top side, because I'm planning on placing him up here, he's not going to end up getting hit with a lot of these scatter shots. Down here, you can see that minion print every time. He's such a threat to the rest of the army. It's actually insane. And now here, I do get lucky that the Warden goes, or that the King goes inside instead of the outside, and I get some pretty good value from the spiky ball. Now on this Warden, I do pick him up a little bit late, and I do get hit by a Fire Mite and I believe I got hit by one hit of the Town Hall, so definitely a little bad. I was hoping to get that Town Hall down with him, but he ends up moving to the outside. So I decided to place my RC. Now the RC, a lot of the time you're going to want to place her either at the end of the attack, which is what I do most of the time, or at the beginning of the attack, just to make sure you can funnel in your army with like really good precision, and you don't really have to worry about, like, let's say you want to avoid the minion prints, you don't have to worry about the minion prints on your heroes. But most of the time, you're going to use him like I did here. You're going to place him on where your heroes already took out the majority of the base, and then your RC is going to be able to take out all of those high-hitting defenses that are in the core of the base that your army missed. I mean, those are going to be the ones that are going to cause time fails or cause your heroes to die, because they're going to hit you while you're taking out like storages or something. So the RC is great for getting rid of those, and that Phoenix is insane for like the value of the value over the Spirit Fox that a lot of other people use. So definitely the biggest improvement for the RC on this one. Now I'm going to get into the next attack. Alright, so another poison base, but I do see fireball value right away, and that's just because this poison base is put in a style very similar to the rage bases, where you have a poison tower in the middle of all those high-hitting defenses, so I see value right away. And on this bottom right side, I can see my Warden doesn't really have to put in a lot of effort, and I can really just snipe a few of these defenses with my rocket balloons, and I can get a great funnel, sort of. And then also, I don't really have to use a lot of invisibility spells. So on the outside buildings, a lot of the time, you're just going to have to use 2 rocket balloons. But on wizard towers, for example, you're going to have to use 2 rocket balloons and I mean, in this case, I'm using the Barchers, so just one Barcher. Alright, so I used the Ice Block, and then just two invisibility spells. Now, if it did go for that, for the Windsweeper, that would have definitely taken away from the Fireball value. I wouldn't have gotten these defenses on the outside, so I definitely played it a little bit risky there. But I ended up working out in the end. Now here, I see that the Monolith is going to be scary if I do get hit by another defense at the same time, but I was careful and I realized that my Warden would only target this, and then he would move in towards that Monolith while only getting targeted by one thing, so I don't really have to keep too much of a eye on him. Over here, again, I send my Queen in. Um, Probably should have activated her ability a little earlier, but then in between my King and Queen, I sent in that log launcher, and now my King enters in towards the base. Now here I get insane spiky ball value, which is just great. And then I do recall my Warden here, and that's just because these rocket balloons are such a threat to the army. I mean, I really hate the people that are running this clan castle. It just really sucks so much. Because I don't know if you saw before, but as soon as I saw those rocket balloons get deployed from the clan castle, I made my Warden invisible right away. And that's just because if they got at least one hit on him, all three of them, my Warden would have been dead, and this attack would have been a fail, like probably a 1 star. So definitely very scary when you see that. Again, I use my Rage on the outside, and that's just so my Warden can take out those high hitting defenses and also move through those high HP buildings very quickly. I also use the invisibility spell on the RC here, and that's just because any defending hero is going to be doing a lot of damage with these legend modifiers, so always make sure to watch out for that. Now here, again, I use my RC on the outside. She gets down all those high HP buildings and defenses, which is just insane value. And I believe the cause for this to be a time fill was that my RC wasted two of those rocket spears, so she couldn't get down that expo in time, which means it was able to do more damage to her. And then the back of this base was just left. Um, the fire mites couldn't do damage, and those last two defenses were able to defend it. So that really, really sucks. But it just shows, I mean, even an attack with no mistakes can end up being a time fail, but also an attack with a lot of mistakes can end up being a 3 star. And I'll try and show you an attack like that right now. Alright, so on this attack, you should see right away insane value on this one compartment. Giant Bomb, 2 Spell Towers, 2 Scatter Shots, 3 Inferno Towers, possibly Clan Castle. If you hit on this Poison Tower, Clan Castle goes down, and then Giant Cannon and Multi-Archer Tower, so insane value. On this one, I put the Warden on the right side. That's what I usually do, but I think that's going to be the more baited one most of the time, so definitely, if you like to use the left side, definitely go for that one instead. I do place a furnace in every corner other than this bottom one. That's just because this multi-archer tower would kill those furnace mites right away, and I wouldn't get great value. And this is also the side that I'm planning on placing my king and queen. So queen, if I place her down like a second earlier, she's just going to take out those buildings, so it doesn't really matter. Notice that I also do use rocket balloons and some of the Barchers just to take out some of those garbage defenses from the outside. I also use regular balloon just so I don't use 8 housing space on something that doesn't need one of the rocket balloons on, so I can end up saving that for later on in the attack. Now here, I'm going to use 3 invisibility spells. If I used a 4th, I could have gotten that clan castle by making the Rage Tower invisible, but it's always better to save spells than waste them when it's not going to make too much of a difference. I also make sure to pick up my Warden here, because that Giant Cannon and Raged Up Minion Prince targeting me at the same time, he probably would have died. I'd say if in 2 hits of the Giant Cannon, he would have gone down. So always watch out for your Warden as he's entering in towards new areas of the base. Here again, Queen on one side, Log Launcher in the middle, and then King on the other side. And that's just going to make sure your King gets funneled in. Now here, I use a rage spell on my Warden, and that's just because I'm anticipating that Expo, with this Expo targeting him, and that's going to make it a very, very, very difficult situation because two Expos targeting your Warden takes his health down slowly, but sure, like he does. And then here you see the power of that multi-gear tower. Takes out my Warden in one hit from full health to zero. So I mean, really insane. Luckily, I place in my um, RC very quickly to make sure those healers go over to her. I rage her up. She gets those raged rocket spears over, um, and then I get very lucky that that minion prince didn't kill my king earlier. If he did, I probably wouldn't have gotten that great value from the spiky ball, and I would have definitely would have failed this attack. Now this attack, I mean, it gets very close, but that Phoenix, that really carries the attack. And then those last furnace smites from my furnaces on the sides of the base really carry this attack to a 3-star. But this just shows, I let my Warden die, but if you have any hesitancy on what to do after you make a mistake, I mean, that's gonna surely lead to a 2-star, because if you waste any time deciding on what to do, you're just gonna make a mistake. So the best bet is keep your RC. If you see yourself make a mistake, use the RC to fix that, and that's gonna, I mean, not guarantee, but up your chances of a recovery to a 3-star by, I mean, a significant amount. But this attack brought me to a plus 299 day, so close to that plus 320, but I'm hoping I can get that tomorrow, and I'll bring you guys a video on that one if I do. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. I mean, I've spent so much time messing with this army. Like, I've swapped out the super wall breakers for regular wall breakers. I mean, Spirit Fox and the King. You probably do not see anyone running that combo. Um, Everyone's starting to run Spirit Fox in the RC again, just to get those double cycles. Um, so it's a very unorthodox army, something you're not going to see a lot of people with, but I've found that it works very well. And the way I've shown and the way I do my attacks, it's very cookie cutter. Warden on one side, Fireball to set a funnel. Warden, depending on if you need to recall him, move him to an easier funnel, and then send your king and queen with the log launcher, have them funneled in towards the base, and then make sure to have your king move in and then activate his ability. Try to not use his ability on the outside of the base. And then last tip, do not use the king and queen abilities at the same time because they just take away from each other's value. So that's going to be it for this army. I mean, I really love this army. It's been carrying me through a lot of my days. Like yesterday, this was one of my worst days where I had a lot of time fails, one really bad fail, and the rest 3-stars. But one of my bad days is that plus 274. So this army just works so well in high legends. So I hope it will for you. And it looks like I'm starting to take my final defense. So hopefully it's a fail, but that's going to be for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.